Hello everybody, welcome to today's video. This is the B-17 Flying Fortress, and I am building both decal versions today. Thank you guys for watching. Let's get back to building. This kit came very well sealed up and was in great packaging condition. All the parts were protected well, nothing was bent or anything like that, and just bravo to the packaging on this. It really does make my life easy and other people's lives easy that the model was protected well. I was expecting a newer type of instruction sheet, but this is what we get, and this is really what the kit started out with, as this Bravo monogram instruction sheet, which is kind of retro and cool too. And it also comes with this informational sheet based on a diorama that you could build. There was very good detail on these black parts. The props were probably the best I've seen out of Revel kits, and some of the interior things too. The seats, not so much. They were pretty flat and not very detailed, but you could still make a good seat out of them with seat belts if you didn't have any extra parts. The guns, pretty average, pretty much the same gun that Revel has in all their kits. And the tires actually did have a flat spot on them, so that was nice. So there are raised panel lines on this whole model, which is unfortunate, but what can you do? This kit's been around forever. But the decal sheet is very pristine and new and worked great. There's no problems with that. The instructions are basic Revel monogram instructions showing you pretty much step by step exactly how this thing goes together. Any beginner could probably understand this, but there was a few parts missing of the interior that could be important to some modelers, so just be mindful of that when you're building. Some of the wooden parts and boxes and stuff didn't get added in, and also how to install the turret didn't end up getting in this model kit either. So just be mindful of that and watch this video. So this came with a little informational sheet on dioramas and how to do this thing in a real looking diorama form, so it's pretty cool. I put all of my clear parts and all of my decal sheets, sometimes together, sometimes not, but they all go in plastic baggies, so no dust can get on the clear parts and no water can get on the decal sheets. It is super important to keep those pristine so that you don't have to buy some extra ones. I also bought this organizational file thing offline from Amazon. It was like 15 bucks, and I swear this is the best thing I've ever bought. I have two of them, and they improve my modeling so much. So if you guys are looking to organize your sprues in a different way, this is the way to go, man. It holds huge models, small models, everything in between, and it's just a great thing. So let's get started on the interior. So the whole interior went together well, and as you can see, it has pretty good details for anyone that's looking for a decent kit, not to put too much time into. Honestly, it could use a lot more detail, but for a kit that's going to get closed up and you can barely even see 10% of it anyways, it's decent, and it was really fun. Make sure you glue the inside of the turret hole so that the turret can move freely, because this part can be moved actually. And I'm just keeping the instrument panel off for now so I can go around and paint all the things I need to paint. This was a lot harder than it looks. These little things have to be kept track of because there's two different sizes, and so just make sure you keep track of the two different sizes when you put your chairs together, and it will go together just fine like mine did. But it definitely is a little bit tricky, as it took me a couple times to get this thing just right, in the right position and seated right and glued to the thing perfectly. And as you can see, I'm really struggling with this. Is the fourth attempt, so didn't properly cut this video. I use some oil wash here. I don't even know. I think I just water and black. This is so long ago. I built the inside of it like 2 years ago and didn't want to do the outside of it. So I'm pretty sure it's just water and black that I did, and some greasy brown maybe mixed in there. But I just smeared that around the whole model, and I didn't even wipe anything off. I just let it do its thing, and it had a really cool effect. It kind of like sunk into the areas and made some really cool weathered effects on it. And as you can see, it worked out great. I mean, this thing looks like $1 million model for what it was. For what it was, as in detail, once you put some weathering stuff on it and really chip effect it, it looks decent. It looks really, really neat. So I'm happy with the way it came out, as in how much detail lacked in this kit. But there are some really good parts to it too that are really detailed. So make sure that you dry fit this model because it's really, really important. This was really, really hard to get together properly. So make sure you just go around and dry fit all your parts before you end up gluing them. Make sure your inside parts fit good, and make sure the outside parts fit good because it does move around quite a bit. And you can end up with a huge ridge, so make sure that doesn't happen. With the wings, the left wing was super warped, but the right wing fit perfectly, so you have nothing to worry about on one of the wings anyways. But the left wing was really warped, and you need to make sure that you get them all perfectly set. After that, file all your edges down, and you're ready to go on to the next step. So, as in packaging, if you wanted to build this model and then put it away, you do not have to keep these wings on. They click together so nicely, and honestly, it's probably the best feature of this model. They go together nicely, and they have a nice little line there. You do not have to fill those in or glue them together if you do not want to, and if you want to store this model properly. And the clear parts went on pretty good as well, but definitely make sure that you sand all of the clear parts edges and stuff so that it goes into the model perfectly. The turrets went in pretty easily. You just sit it in there and twist it, and then you can move it around as much as you want. So this is a micro mask. This is probably one of the magical wonders of hobbying. This stuff is legit. You put a few coats on each part and you just paint it in just real quickly. It's really painless. It's super easy to use, super easy to peel off. And the box says that you can't use water-based paints with it, but that is not true. You can use water-based paints with it. It is okay. And now we're depreciating, so enjoy. So for the bottom of the green olive drab B-17, I actually wanted to do a little bit more to it. I did a whole thing black on the bottom, and then I went ahead with white and just colored in some squiggles and some lines, kind of like a Luftwaffe aircraft, but I just wanted to weather it a little bit better with that gray paint. I found that this is kind of the way I really like to do it, to give it a nice weathered look on the bottom with gray. So here we are, and we are just squiggling in some lines, but I also went ahead and did it on the top as well, where the green was. It just brings out some more colors and adds to the weathered effect to all my models. I really like this way of going about it because it kind of just lets me do the airbrushing instead of doing some aftercoats and stuff like that at the end. So it's just a nice weathered look. I don't have to mess with too much later. Then I go ahead and put some nice thin 50-50 paint to water base shades of olive drab on it, and came out pretty nice. Now I do the same thing on the bottom, just kind of going around making sure I want all the parts that I want darker gray, and lighter and darker, and just go about until I see the finished look that I was looking for. And also it was super easy to do this because the wing surface area is so big, so it just took some time, but it was nice. This is going to be red, so I actually painted this white first. It just brings out that red and brightens it up a little bit, so it's just a good way to get that red to look more bright and more weathered and more faded kind of, and it looks really, really nice afterwards. So I use Tamiya tape on all my models, and this stuff is just great. I don't have to stick it to anything first before I stick it on the model, as long as I do prime the model first, because it can have a tendency of peeling stuff off, but usually doesn't. So here I'm using some tweezers to actually squeeze the sides of the tape together so that no paint can get through where the tape is like lapping over. It's just, I've had some problems in this area before of paint leaking through, so just a good way to do it. Then I stick it on a stick, stick it on some sticky tack, and stick the propeller to the sticky tack, and that is seamless. Paint your tips white before you use yellow, or else you have to do 8 coats instead of just 4. You do have to do several thin coats in order for this to come out right, but at least you're doing only 4 coats or 5 coats rather than 8 coats. And as you can see, the decal sheet is very pristine, in well-kept condition. And yeah, what can you say? It's nice, thick blue, and the decals are not too thick as well. So I think I'm pretty smart. I actually taped these 2 paintbrushes together to go with the microsol and microset. That way I know which is which and don't get confused much. Always gloss coat your models before you do the propellers, always, every single time, or else they will flash so bad, especially these decals. But once you gloss them and put everything, all the decals on, use your microsol, use your microset, and squeeze all the air bubbles out. Make sure that the decal is stuck to the model good. It will not flash. It's a tried and true resolution. If you put gloss coat on it and you do the things that you need to do, it will not flash and make your model look like trash. If you end up having some problems, just grab your tweezers and just readjust the decal. If you needed to like re-wet it and slide it around a little bit too, you can also put some microsol back on it and re-slide it around. But after each decal is on and microsol is set on, you need to rub the air bubbles out of it with a Q-tip or bouncy ball or anything like that. Also, you want to do this step after you apply this micro set too, because the micro set will actually raise it off of the model itself. So if you put it on, then you put the micro set on, wait a few minutes, and then go back and push the air bubbles out, push the liquid out from underneath the decal, and this will give you a perfect decal set. I use tweezers, and also I use a toothpick in order to get the edges off with all the tape on the clear parts. So here I'm using a toothpick to rub the edges of the clear parts, and this will not scratch your clear parts, but definitely don't rub too hard. You just want to lift the corner of that off so that you can get your tweezers in there and do the rest of the work for you. But I would advise to cut around the area with a X-Acto knife that you're peeling this blue stuff off of, because it can kind of stick and you'll have to rub more. So just cut around the outside of it and then use your toothpick to peel the rest of this off. So here I just end up twisting and brushing carefully around the black. Some people do it the other way, whereas they airbrush stuff. I find that would be actually probably easier than the way I do it, because I can make some mistakes with a brush. Okay, let's move on to the silver model. The silver model, I painted all black, and if you're going to do aluminum like paneling and stuff like that, you want to make sure your model is actually black. I had no idea about this, but I just used the Vallejo instructions, metal color Vallejo paints, and they were very they said use black first and then go in with your things. It'll make it shinier and it'll make it reflect more. I used two different paints for the wings and the fuselage just because of a reference photo that I was going off of. And then what I did was I used Post-it notes to actually form these squares, and it worked like a charm. They don't stick to the model that well, so you do want to make sure that everything's sticking good before you airbrush, but it was a charm. And here I used actually some painter's tape, and painter's tape is a little bit too sticky, but because I primed and painted the area plus the gloss coat, it was okay to use some painter's tape on this specific area. This is a custom match color I did to the specific box art on the thing. I just mixed in some French blue, which is Blue Angel blue, and a little bit of light blue. In order to get this color, I just wanted it to be a little bit lighter and weathered rather than just having a solid blue color. And it worked out pretty good. As you can see, this blue tape is not peeling any of the paint off, so it is safe to use. But, I mean, it does stick really good, so you have to be careful, you know? It sticks really good, so just pull it off slowly and take your time, and it'll be fine. Now I use the same process for these decals as I did for the other model, and it always works out perfect. So I wanted to point this area out to you guys. I'm using this as a rolling device to roll out all the air bubbles, but I feel like I could use like a bouncy ball or something. So let me know in the comments if you guys have ever used like a bouncy ball or a rolling thing to squeeze out all the air bubbles out of your decals. I would really want to know if that actually does work. And here I mixed a bit of brown, like dark brown and black, to make my own kind of custom shade of exhaust. And I went ahead and used a Grex airbrush, which is a magical airbrush if you've never had one and your hands cramp up. I would definitely use one of these airbrushes. They're sweet. My life has changed with it, and without it, I don't know what I'd do. My Raptor is sick for little things, for tiny little things, and this thing is great for bigger things. So yeah, I'm just squeezing the trigger and pulling it back as little as possible just to get a nice faded look back there on the exhaust panels. I actually saw this on another B-17 on one of my Facebook groups on how they did this type of weathering to this specific B-17, and it looked really cool, and I just wanted to mimic it. I don't know how accurate it is. I just really wanted it on my B-17. So even if it isn't accurate, I don't care. It's just cool looking, and I really like the grease stains. But on real B-17s, they do have that streak over the leading edge there of the wing, greasing back towards those little vents. So that is, I know for a fact, accurate, but I just wanted a little extra on my model because, oh, why not? It's mine, so I don't care. And if you made it all the way through this video, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the pics.